Hello everyone, it's the holy month of Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak to all those that are fasting. And today we have with us on Off the Cuff, Najah Bazzy, humanitarian, RN, and also the CEO of Zaman International. Najah is also an author of a beautiful book called The Beauty of Ramadan. So all the questions, all the answers about Ramadan, who, what, why, where, are in this lovely, lovely book. Haji Najah, welcome to Off the Cuff.
Thank you,
It's
Seham.
always a pleasure to have
Thank you. Always fun to be with you.
Absolutely. I consider you as a very dear, not only a dear friend, but as a sister. And you have taught me so much
Mutual.
through the years.
That's for
you
sure.
You really have.
Definitely mutual. It's okay for our viewers to know that.
Absolutely.
Yes, we love each other immensely.
Absolutely. And the spiritual guide that you have been throughout the years for not only our community but communities beyond, nationally and internationally, has been an inspiration to all. During this holy month of Ramadan, you are definitely the go-to person in regards to what Ramadan really signifies, why Muslims fast throughout the whole month, and really the logistics of why. And it's a little bit difficult sometimes for other people to understand who are not well informed.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that today, through our conversation, our viewers will understand Ramadan and why we do it. So I guess. Sure. The first question I want to ask you is, what's going on in Zaman International first?
Zaman's doing great. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely.
So as you know, Zaman means time, and it's about how we spend our time in the service of others. So this month, even though our clients are not all Muslims, but this month, I have to tell you, the generosity that's poured into the organization to feed people has been overwhelming. We've had one of the best months we've had in over 20 years. It's just been overwhelming. People are dropping off food. People are sending money for food. People are delivering food to people who are really living in the margins. So Zaman is doing really well. We're really excited about our Hope for Humanity Center. We've been there 1 year, since April, and graduated 124 students from vocational training. And the big exciting news is that we've hit service to over 1.3 million people across the world.
Amazing.
So, yeah, that's really
And you're
exciting.
not just local. I mean, you are international, and
right.
you've also participated in creating clean water.
Right. We have 9 wells around the world, and so that's also very, very exciting. We partner with International Medical Corp. It's my favorite international nonprofit. They do phenomenal work. You're familiar with Dr. Robert Simon's work.
Oh my goodness.
You've been
Absolutely.
an advocate for his work. So they're our partner internationally, and so we're in 15 countries with projects that are aligned with International Medical Corp. So, yeah,
so
it's
feeding
exciting.
the hungry, working with marginalized women, teaching trades to those women so they can be self-sufficient, and I think your focus is on feeding the hungry, and that's what
right,
defines
and empowering them, because 49% of all of our clients live under 24,000. All live beneath the poverty line of 24,000 for a family of 4, but 49% of them live under 12,000.
Right.
If you can imagine, right? So our goal is to try to break that cycle of intergenerational poverty so that the kids don't have to grow up in poverty, and that's why the vocational training is so important. So we have sewing and literacy, and now we have a donor who has taken charge of developing a culinary arts kitchen for us.
Yes, I wanted you to mention that. Absolutely.
That's also so exciting. So we'll have 2 vocations going along to help break that cycle of poverty and get people employed. That's really the only way to do it. People become very afraid to get off of subsidized
Sure.
stamps, food stamps, and other kinds of things. So in order to break that cycle, you have to give them that hand up. And they're very willing to take it. People just want someone to love them, and they want someone to believe in them. So we take care of the abandoned, the abused, the divorced, the widowed, marginalized, living with children. Oftentimes, and I'm sorry to say this, but oftentimes the victims of men who've not been such great people. And so
very well said.
I'm not quite sure how else to say it,
Abusers,
but not
maybe.
also, it's not always that. And it could be that, life has just been hard. Maybe they lost a partner or whatever it may be, So sometimes it's death and sometimes it's abuse and sometimes it's just sheer abandonment. And so she's left carrying the load. And that's really where we step in.
Well, it certainly has been a beacon within many, many communities, and I know a lot of women. You said over 1 million.
1.3 million.
1.3 million.
That was as of last month. So we'll see this month.
And this is something you started in your basement, I recall.
Yeah, back of my car.
In your car?
Back of the van. Yeah, it started because I'd visited, as a nurse, I'd visited a baby that I had made hospice because I was doing the end-of-life work at that time. And when I know that you've just have a new baby in your family, and so that's really exciting too. But you know how that is. You have the crib and you have the mobile and you have the bumper pad. You have all these beautiful things. So I guess I don't do bumper pads anymore these days.
No, yeah.
So I walked in and the baby was brought to me in a laundry basket.
I remember that, yes.
So that just started the whole thing.
That sparked.
So all of this is really credited to this 3-month-old child that left the world in poverty. So he and his family deserve all of these good deeds.
Absolutely. Well, and your vision, coupled with your vision, moving forward, because Zaman is a hope for humanity, and now it's housed in this huge warehouse where people come and actually pick up food and take it to their families.
It's all client choice now in our Hope for Humanity Center. So any of our viewers, please come by and volunteer. We have 6,000 volunteers and growing. You can volunteer your time. You can tutor literacy. You can be a part of packing the food, a food pantry, shelving projects, cleaning the furniture that we have, household goods. There's all sorts of things for people to do to become a part of the Zaman Network. So I invite the viewers to please come visit us.
Absolutely. And it's not religiously based. It's
absolutely not
ethnically based. It
absolutely
is for everyone
not.
And all.
Absolutely. That's why it's Hope for Humanity.
Absolutely.
I believe in that. I believe in one human family, and I don't care how you come to be that family. It's totally irrelevant to me. I'm only concerned about, are you hungry? Are you homeless? Do you have
help?
Children? And do you need help? I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what language you speak. You're my partner in humanity, and that's all that really matters.
Absolutely, and that defines you and defines the success of Zaman International.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk about Ramadan.
Let's do
the
that.
Holy month of
Okay.
Ramadan, and when you explain this to some individuals that you don't eat, drink, and you fast from everything from sun up to sun down, and especially in the summer, it's a long day. So why do Muslims, particularly around the world, billion-plus Muslims, do this during this particular month?
So, as you know, you're well-versed in diversity, that fasting was prescribed not only for Muslims, but it was prescribed for Jews and for Christians and Hindus and Sikhs, and pretty much any religion has some form of a fast. So the real question is, so why do we have some form of a fast? What is it that it teaches us? So specifically to Muslims and to Ramadan, Ramadan is actually one of the characteristics of God. And not only is it just a holy month, it's the 9th lunar month, but it's also an attribute of God. And the word actually means to extinguish. That's what the word means. And so the thought is, the philosophy is that in our fast, we are burning away many things, bad habits, dietary things that it forbids us from eating, so you're actually cleansing your body. That helps to cleanse your mind.
And your tongue?
And your tongue. And so it's kind of extinguishing sins because it holds us more accountable, but at the same time, not to be so holy, it is also extinguishing all of these bad habits that we come to, because our brains are give me brains. That's the way we're geared. We're mammals. And so we're all about survival, and we're all about what I need, right? And so Ramadan, when you're forced to fast, or you're asked to fast, I should say, then you're retraining parts of your brain that you actually don't use. And so it creates new neural pathways, and it forces your brain to be more elevated. And so it's really strange because people will tell you, I think more clearer when I'm fasting, even though you think I wouldn't. And I seem to have more energy than I do when I'm eating. And why is that? And I'm like, that's because we're taking in all of the sugar that our bodies don't need.
The metabolism is not working as hard either.
Exactly. We're eating all of this processed food, which is just clutter. It's clutter in our arteries, in our brains, in our cells. It's actually bringing us down. So no matter what kind of a fast it is that you do, fasting is good for you. And so the other thing I like to remind people of, when you go to the hospital and you have to have surgery or a test.
Right, they don't let you eat.
They don't let you eat, right? So they send you this notice in your NPO, which means nothing by mouth, after midnight. And then so you're fasting through the night, and then sometimes your test gets bumped. It might be 9 in the morning, and then it doesn't get scheduled until 12, and sometimes 2, and sometimes 4. So fasting does not kill you by any means, nor does it starve you by any means. So there's the physical fast. Then there's the spiritual fast. That's that component of just making you feel closer to those who are hungry, but also closer to your Creator. And you actually, I think, I don't know about you, but you look at food a little differently.
Absolutely.
You become less wasteful. You become more God conscious, I think, and just more human consciousness is elevated. And so there's the different components of the fast, I think, and it's not hard. It could be fatiguing, but because you don't sleep much, because the social aspect
is humongous.
That's
it's an
huge,
amazing,
and it keeps you up.
Right,
You're
absolutely.
celebrating. It's like Thanksgiving or Christmas
every
day.
day
For 30 days.
Right. I've also found, and it's really important that it's a sense of self-discipline.
It really is.
Through the day, and it focuses you on that. And not only does it focus you on your own self-discipline, but it allows you to have a clearer vision of your work, of things around you. And I think that has been the go-to factor in terms of Ramadan. So during the fast, what is the concept of no food, no drink? You have to abstain from a lot of different activities during Ramadan, and I know that through the fasts of other religious entities, some can drink water, some abstain from certain foods during the time, but there's still some kind of intake. But in Islam, there's absolutely no intake whatsoever, even of water. So physiologically speaking, during the summer months, how does that affect the body?
Research has been done to suggest that it doesn't affect the body, which is really interesting.
Yes.
I have friends who are nurses who've done research that's located at the University of Michigan, even on pregnant women who are fasting. Now let's just make it clear, right? So if you're healthy, you fast, but if you're unhealthy, you don't fast. So if you're a diabetic, or you have chronic illnesses, or you're elderly, or whatever it may be, your body just can't take it, or you're too young, then you're exempt from the fast. And if you're traveling, you're exempt from the fast. So there are exemptions to that as well.
Well, what about lactating mothers?
They're also exempt from the fast. Now, if they wish to fast, they can, but usually you need the nutrition in your body to feed your baby. So that kind of takes too many calories away. So it depends on how she eats after the sun sets. So if she's a high protein, well-hydrated eater, then it works. Because, the baby's usually sleeping and she's not often nursing, maybe a couple of hours, every 2 to 3 hours. So, but it does burn a lot of calories. That's a great way to get in shape, though. But you asked about why. We don't really know why God has said no food, no drink, no sex, no intimacy, no gossip. So, but we do know that abstinence makes the heart grow fonder, no matter what it is. And so I joke about that, but it's
I'm
like
creating a visual
whatever
here.
you can't have, you tend to love more, right? It's because you miss it more. So the idea is, I think, a sense of appreciation for what you have, and there's a humbleness that goes along with it, right? But I love what you said about the self-discipline. It really is a discipline. Like this morning when you woke up, you know, you can't have your coffee.
That's very difficult.
It's difficult, but it also teaches you, you know what, I can do without this. That's that neural pathway that I'm talking about, that it creates almost like a super immunity in your mind, because it's mind over matter. I think it's really powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a little hungry right now. I just felt a hunger pain. I hadn't felt it till just now.
Because we're talking about it. So talk to me about the social aspect. And I know within our communities here, of course, there's a large amount of Muslim Americans that live in Dearborn Heights area. And after 9 o'clock, everything is buzzing. Everything is buzzing. God. All the stores are open. People are out. So how does that social aspect tie in to everything? Because usually, you know, it's full meals, and I know that through the concept of Ramadan, it's always supposed to be simplicity, and it's not about you know, the full table. It's about appreciating what we have, and also thinking about those that don't have. And I think that has really resonated the most, because you really realize what is around you. You're more focused at what is around you. You're more focused at what you have. You have a table to sit on. You have a roof over your head. You have food to eat. You know, at the end of your fast and on a daily basis, and that's what really resonates with me. I think of those that don't, and that guides me towards, you know, one of the major pillars is zakat. Is you have to give a portion of your earnings, you know, to the poor. But talk to me about that social aspect and how that sort of is relevant with the entire platform of the month of Ramadan within our communities here.
Well, I know you've experienced it, but I think that's what pulls people in, is that sense of community, but that communal thought that, well, my family's fasting, I'm a part of my family. My community is fasting, I'm a part of my community. 1.5 billion Muslims are fasting, and that's around the world 24/7 because of the time changes, right? So pretty much the earth has this fast, and you feel a sense, I think, of, you know, being a part of something that's really exciting. And then when the stores all light up at 9 o'clock, honest to God, I could not get reservations in a restaurant 2 days in a row. So we've been eating home every day, which I really love, because you can gather the family, and, you know, when your children grow up, everyone is someplace else, and it's hard to sit at the table together. So that social aspect, 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we stop eating at 4 a.m., so up until 4 a.m., I mean, stores are open 24 hours. So just that sense of excitement and seeing people and saying hello, and people are kinder. People are smiling. And for our families at Zaman, that other aspect that you talked about, the aspect of, like, when you sit down and you know that you have chicken and you have rice and you have a potato and you have a salad, maybe 2 salads, and you have fruit, and you have all of this, and I know that our families are sitting down, and they may be lucky, they eat so sparsely that it just really raises a level of consciousness, that equity issue. And by the way, I would like to let everyone know that America does have a hunger issue, and if it weren't for blessings in a backpack or the summer meetup and eat up food programs, we have hundreds of thousands of children in our own country who are hungry. And I think that
I don't think
that is an issue, and we don't think about it. We just don't think about it, and we throw food away.
Right.
And the food that we throw away can feed the world. That is a fact. So, I mean, even though our audience may not be fasting, some may be, some may not be, I hope that we could at least elevate the level of consciousness about hunger in America, because it is real. We experience it every day at Zaman. So I think that, you know, in many ways, the fast, it has just this beautiful aspect to it. And the social aspect, I have to say, it's just special. I guess it's really like Thanksgiving.
Right.
It's Thanksgiving
every day
for 30 days.
Najah, a lot of people talk about children and children fasting, and I know it's I think 10 years old is when children should start to fast. But when you talk about their growth and their nutrition and having to make sure that they have balanced meals on a daily basis, how does that contradict the fact that they're supposed to fast by the age of 10 or being conscious enough to be able to think about fasting? So physiologically speaking and spiritually speaking, how does that balance?
Well, it does balance. And, our children have way more than they need, number one. And when they are breaking their fast, for those who do fast, there is such an abundance of food. They're getting protein. They're getting everything that they need to sustain them. We've never, ever seen anyone have a growth issue as a result of a fast. So it's just non-existent. It's more the philosophy that we have such an abundance in our country that when you take away a portion of the abundance, we think that someone is going to be severely injured by that. But if they're still getting the abundance during the day, they're physiologically very okay, right? So if your body's like a furnace, if you're putting wood in it, it's true that your metabolism starts in the morning and you want to feed that metabolism. But if you're not feeding it for 12 hours, it's kind of like the wood is still, when you light the fire and it still has that, it's still there and it's still providing energy. So you may lose some weight, but you're certainly not going to injure yourself. But if it becomes to a point where it is injurious for whatever reason,
sure, absolutely,
dehydration or whatever, you should not be fasting.
So exposing children at that age, what kind of spiritual, what kind of message do you think that a child of 10 years old will get from fasting?
This is my personal belief. I honestly believe that children who are exposed to it early in life, and it may not be a whole day fast. They might fast from not eating lunch. They may fast from skipping breakfast and then eating lunch. Just kind of easing them into it for the first 10, 11, 12 years old until they're intellectually, physically, spiritually mature enough to understand it. But in terms of the spiritual balance for it, I personally believe that when a child becomes disciplined about having a focus and feeling empowered to conquer oneself, then vices like drugs, the vices of alcoholism and things like that, they don't play in a mind as much as they would in a person who has a lack of that type of a self-discipline. So no one's ever done the research. No one's ever looked at the aspect of the discipline of fasting. My guess is it helps us to make better decisions because we've learned how to conquer the self.
Absolutely. And Ramadan is truly a symbol of Islam, which is sacrifice, which is self-discipline. Najah, I want to ask you a question in regards to our current environment, in regards to Islam, in regards to the general consensus of how Islam is seen within our world today, with all the turmoil and all the things that are happening around us. What is your take, and what is your maybe advice or suggestion to those that are seeing what's happening, and how do we give them a platform to sort of understand and be able to figure out, maybe for lack of a better word, what is happening and why, and sort of separate the sense of Islam with what is happening today?
That's a tough question, and it weighs very heavy on my heart. Just this morning, I think I'm always thinking about it. This idea that someone says, Allahu Akbar, God is great, and then suicide straps himself and goes and bombs innocent human beings. We are all susceptible to crazy people, all of us. Muslim, non-Muslim, it doesn't matter who you are. We are all susceptible to people who have been severely brainwashed. These people who do this, it is impossible, and I say that unequivocally, impossible for them to be Muslims. It's not possible. They may think they are Muslim. They may say things that Muslims say, like Allahu Akbar, God is great. They may even pray, but they cannot be Muslims in the sense that God revealed the faith tradition. It's impossible, because God is mercy, and he begins his name with mercy. And God says he created us, nations and tribes, to come to know one another. This is a political radical, I can't even call it a political radical Islam. That's what the news calls it. It's not a political radical Islam, because it's not Islam. That's a misnomer.
It's deranged individuals with their own political...
It absolutely is. Now,
agenda.
I mean, these are big issues. These are political issues that if you go back and, I encourage everyone to listen to Fareed Zakaria on CNN and the way that he unpacks terrorism. But whether it is the rapist on the street, or the murderer, or the person who shot his mother in the head here in our own country, or this nut in London, or the crazies in 9/11, whoever it may be that moves to this violent, ignorant disillusionment, to me, they are neither a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, no matter who they are. They are not of a religious, human, spiritual family. They are an aberration of something else. What bothers me the most is the news keeps saying this Muslim, which feeds the frenzy for the public to be afraid of Muslims. You're a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, 1.5 billion Muslims. Not all of them are nuts. But until the media stops feeding the frenzy, not every murderer do they ever put up and say, so-and-so is Christian. No, they'll say black and they say Muslim, unfortunately and sadly. And this has got to stop, because these labels, I think, are purposeful, because they feed a supremacy that we really don't want to be about. And at the same time, this problem exists, and it's a real problem. I don't think it's a Muslim problem. I think it's a political problem. I stand fully and totally against it. I believe God stands against it. And I feel that those people are going to a very unsafe, eternal abode. It's impossible to hurt innocent people and think you're going to get away with it.
Absolutely.
Impossible.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. It's a difficult time that we live in, and the way things are defined, and the way things are presented to us. I think it's incumbent on every single one of us to educate ourselves and to understand what reality is, regardless of what we see, within our media outlets. So it's books, it's educating ourselves and really understanding the truth that can guide us to what our reality is at this point. Haji Najah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my honor and pleasure.
You are always very inspirational and very educational as well. And I love this book, The Beauty of Ramadan. Is there a place where our viewers can actually get this?
Yeah, they can grab it on Amazon. It's just it's a very quick, easy read.
Wonderful, and it tells you everything you wanted to know about Ramadan, but were afraid to ask, basically.
There you go.
Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my honor.
Ramadan Mubarak, my dear.
Thank you, and to you, and Happy Eid coming up.
Thank you. Yes,
soon.
Absolutely, very soon. And Happy Eid to everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. Have a safe, wonderful year, month, life. Remember, it's we're in this together, and we are a family through humanity, and that's what we have to remember on a daily basis. Thank you, and God bless.